Hello, my name is Ryan. I'm a student here at Liberty University, and the class is COM 622. And for my video assignment, I'm going to be presenting Chapter 6, which is Motivating Behaviors with Work and Rewards. So in full disclosure, I am been in the Navy for 27 years, so I'm a little bit institutionalized when it comes to motivating behaviors and rewards. The military is a very closed system, so a lot of the things that we do don't apply in the civilian sector. But when I retire in a couple of years, I greatly look forward to becoming a civilian and looking at what they do in comparison to what I've experienced over the last 27 years. Okay, so if you're following along, after our title slide, we'll go to our first presentation slide, which is the keys to enhancing job performance. And there are 6 areas that our textbook discusses, and we're going to talk a little bit about each of these. And those 6 are job design, employee participation, flexible work arrangements, goal setting, performance management, and of course organizational rewards. So the first area, job designs. So it's important to understand some terminology. Job design actually refers to how organizations define and structure jobs within that organization. Job specialization is another term that's important that we understand, and that of course is breaking the jobs down into small components, task and standardizing them across the entire workforce. That way every employee performs the task the same. There's no human variance in this particular area. And the third term is alternatives to job specialization, and this of course deals with job rotation, job enlargement, and job enrichment. A lot of things that take place in factories where organizations try to move their employees around so they don't get bored or complacent and see a decrease in quality. So in this particular focus area, it's also important we understand what's called the job characteristics theory. There are 3 psychological states to that theory, as well as 5 motivational properties. Those 3 psychological states are that the employees experience meaningfulness of the work that they're performing, that they experience responsibility for the work outcomes, and of course that they have knowledge of the results of the work that they are doing. Those 5 motivational properties consist of skill variety, task identity, task significance, autonomy, and of course feedback. So moving on to our second area of focus in Chapter 6, we're talking about employee participation. Now participation entails giving employees a voice in what they're doing and making decisions about their own work. And of course, empowerment is the process of enabling those workers to set their own work goals, make decisions, and solve problems within their sphere of responsibility and authority. Basically, what we want to do is avoid micromanagement per se. We want to allow employees at different levels to make decisions, to help solve problems, to feel like they're part of the process, that they're not simply just a worker being told to go complete task A. That their input, their opinions are important. So that's what we're getting to here. The third area in Chapter 6 that our book discusses is flexible work arrangements. Now, I always find this to be very interesting. Sometimes organizations may allow someone to work 4 10-hour shifts, vice the traditional 5 8-hour days. The federal government has a regular day off program, basically where employees work an extra 30 days every day and get every other Friday off, which is a good deal for them. So lots of things that fall into that variable work schedule. Extended work schedules is another area. Now, defense contractors use this a lot. The cruise ship industries use this a lot. Basically, this comes into play when you're working longer than 8-hour days, maybe with no day off, for quite some time. So you'll complete what's required of the contract, and then of course you'll be giving some financial compensation and benefits. Maybe you work 10 days and have 5 days off, or you complete a 6-month project, and maybe you'll get 30 days paid vacation or something like that before you sign on for another hitch. The third part of flexible work arrangements is what we call flexible work schedules. The book gives a really good example of giving some employees some flexibility in the morning, at lunch, and in the afternoon for their hours, but everyone is there for core hours, and these would be when the important meetings and things take place. This allows employees, especially those with children, to easily be able to take their kids to school, pick them up, or shuffle them around at lunch. A lot of folks like that particular idea of a flexible work schedule. And of course, alternative workplaces. Telecommuting becoming very, very popular. In my organization, civilian employees, not the military yet, but civilian employees are allowed to telecommute at least one day a week. And technology makes that very, very easy. And a lot of folks like that. So the next area of focus is what we call goal setting. And to understand goal setting, you need to understand the goal setting theory, which of course was Edwin Locke. When the theory was first proposed, there were two parts of that theory. It was the difficulty and the specificity of the goal. The difficulty basically meant that the goal was challenging. It couldn't be too easy, right? There had to be some work involved in meeting that goal. And specificity dealt with a quantifiable goal. We couldn't just say we want to do better than last year. We need to quantify that and say, hey, we want to increase sales by 5%. We want to reduce overhead costs by 10%. Something that we can actually measure and quantify. Now, eventually, this theory was expanded to include two more elements, which were acceptance and commitment. Acceptance basically being that everyone in the organization or on the team accepts the goal and is working toward it. And commitment is pretty self-explanatory. Everybody's committed to meeting that goal in hopes probably of receiving a reward at the end. Okay, so another area in this part of the chapter deals with what they call a broader perspective on goal setting. And they bring up management by objective, MBO, and that's basically the collaborative approach to goal setting through the organization. So everybody's on board, accomplishing that goal. Usually these goals are set by the year, either calendar year or fiscal year, and everyone on board, the team or the organization is working toward this goal from top down and from bottom up. So I'm a big fan of management by objective. I think if everyone is working toward a common goal, promotes teamwork, and hopefully that goal will be accomplished. And I think you'll see a lot of camaraderie and what we call in the military a spirit de corps if you practice this particular approach. The next focus area is performance management, and this deals specifically with employee appraisals. In the military, we have what we call evaluations for enlisted personnel and fitness reports for officers. The textbook talks about the three areas of these appraisals, being the appraiser itself, who's doing the appraising, the frequency of the appraisal, and measuring performance. In the Navy, we do enlisted evaluations once a year based on pay grade. 6 months after that, we do midterm counseling to let that individual know where they stand, tell them what they've done good and what they could improve on to get a higher mark when the report is actually due 6 months from that time period. We work on a 5-point scale, 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest, and based on specific traits like technical knowledge and leadership, equal opportunity, things like that, we would evaluate those sailors on that 1.0 to 5.0 scale, average them at the end, and of course that would be their performance mark average for the year. Lots of civilian organizations, I'm sure, have similar programs like this. Some are just up or down, some have letter grades. But in the military, we use a 1.0 to 5.0 scale in the Navy. Okay, organizational rewards. Everyone likes to receive an award. The book makes a difference between surface value and our symbolic value for awards. Surface value, they give a great example of everyone getting a 5% raise. Therefore, everybody has 5% more money in their pocket, can go out and spend 5% more money. And then when they talk about symbolic value, they talk about maybe somebody got a 3% raise, which isn't as much as a 5% raise. However, everyone else only got a 1% raise. So that particular individual actually got 3 times the raise as everyone else, which would mean that they were valued in the organization. And definitely, that would be worth more from the symbolic value as opposed to everyone getting across the board raises. They also, in the book, talk about various types of rewards, base pay, maybe that's based on years of service or the position. Incentive systems, if you meet this sales goal, maybe that you work yourself up into a different pay bracket. They talk about indirect compensation, which deals with the things other than salary that the organization pays for. A lot of times this is health insurance, Social Security benefits, and things like that. They go into the perks of the job. Personally, I have a reserved parking space in the job that I'm in right now. It took me 25 years to get it, but I greatly appreciate it because parking is always at a premium on a U.S. military base. And then finally, they talk about awards. In the military, in the Navy, we have Sailor of the Quarter, Sailor of the Year awards. A lot of civilian organizations do the same thing: Employee of the Week, Employee of the Month, Employee of the Year. And of course, sometimes there's financial rewards with that. Sometimes it's a plaque, but it definitely is a way of recognizing your top performers within your organization. The book also talks about some related issues in rewarding performance. It talks about linking performance and rewards, basically. If you get a good evaluation, maybe you get a bonus or something like that. They talk about the flexible reward system, which is getting the employee on board with, basically having a say in what the reward is instead of a one-size-fits-all approach. They also talk about the participative pay systems, pay secrecy, and expatriate compensation as well. In the military, when we're sent overseas to live and work in a very high cost of living area, we're actually given COLA, cost of living allowance, which helps offset that additional cost to live and work in that particular organization. Globalization, of course, has caused many corporations to have offices around the world. They do similar things, allowing maybe a former U.S. executive to live in Hong Kong, and of course paying them a little bit more money with pay and allowances so that they can live the lifestyle that they are accustomed to living. Okay, so getting short on time here, so let's go ahead and summarize Chapter 6. Basically, managers seek to enhance employee performance by capitalizing on the potential for motivated behaviors to improve performance. And the methods often used to translate motivation into performance involve work design, participation and empowerment, alternative work arrangements, performance management, goal setting, and rewards. So, here is our discussion question. Are you ready? Other than financial compensation, what other types of rewards do you think are effective in motivating behavior in your organization, and why? I look forward to hearing your answers, and thanks for listening to my presentation.